9. The world's longest limousine. A newly built limousine, nicknamed the American Dream, shot to fame in 1986 when it achieved the Guinness World Record for the world's longest car. Measuring just over 100 feet, 30.5 meters long, it contained a waterbed, a swimming pool, a jacuzzi, a putting green, living room furniture, a helipad, several TVs, a refrigerator, a phone, and more. The 25,000-pound, 11,340-kilogram vehicle can be driven from both ends and has enough room for 75 passengers. Its original builder, J. Orberg, based its design on the 1976 Cadillac Eldorado limousine and equipped each end with a pair of 8-cylinder engines. The record-breaking car had a hinge in the middle, enabling it to turn right corners. The American Dream was frequently rented out for various appearances and for use in movies, but its popularity eventually diminished. It was difficult to find parking for and came with numerous other obstacles due to its size. In the meantime, maintenance on the vehicle stopped and it rusted out as it sat in storage, neglected and forgotten. Michael Manning, who owns an automotive teaching museum in Long Island, New York, called the Autoseum, first came across the car at an auto body show. He later described it as graffiti-covered garbage with flat tires and broken windows. Some parts had deteriorated beyond repair. Manning nevertheless fell in love with the vehicle and set his sights on restoring it. But he ran into some funding issues after acquiring the American Dream, and it sat for several more years before he decided to sell it on eBay. Florida-based tourist attraction owner Michael Deezer bought it and had it shipped to Orlando. Determined to bring the car back to life, he sought help from Manning, several other experts, and some auto body repair students. 3 years and more than $250,000 later, the limo was finally restored to its former glory. 8. Soviet turbojet train. During the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union competed almost obsessively for military and technological supremacy. In a bid to one-up the other, both countries developed experimental high-speed trains that were powered by jet engines. The first jet-powered train was developed in the US during the mid-1960s by railroad engineer Don Wetzel. Aside from the desire to outcompete the Soviet Union, the goal was to create a train that was faster, safer, and less expensive than what existed at the time. Nicknamed the Black Beetle, the M497 train was equipped with two 5,000-horsepower engines. It reached a record-breaking speed of 183 miles per hour, 295 kilometers per hour, and remains the fastest ever locomotive in the US to this day. During the 1970s, the Soviets built a turbojet car that quickly reached speeds of up to 160 miles per hour, 257 kilometers per hour. While it wasn't quite as fast as the Black Beetle, it was impressive in its own right. Despite its capabilities, it never went past the prototype stage due to the vehicle's extraordinarily high fuel consumption, and only 2 were ever built. So, instead of moving forward with it, the train's developers parked it on some grass and forgot about it. Photos of the light blue locomotive went viral in 2016 after a Russian photographer discovered that it's still sitting where it was left decades ago. Today, it stands as a rusting relic from a bygone era of uncertainty and paranoia between two nations who came perilously close to nuclear war in their frenzied race for global influence. 7. Lamborghini Miura. Not many people outside of Greece have ever heard of Stamatis Kokotas, but the singer was an iconic chart topper within the country and became known as the Greek Elvis. Greek shipping millionaire Aristotle Onassis was so impressed that in the early 1970s, he bought Kokotas a 1969 Lamborghini Miura as a token of appreciation for his musical talent. The metallic brown luxury car contained an impressive array of features for its time, including electric windows, air conditioning, and of course a top-notch engine. Sadly, the car's engine died in 1972, not long after it came into the singer's possession. For the next 42 years, it sat abandoned in the parking lot of an Athens hotel. The Miura finally went up for auction in 2012 and received bids as high as $483,210, but it wasn't enough to meet the reserve price, leaving its future uncertain. It's unclear what, if anything, ever happened to the car, but auto enthusiasts around the world seem hopeful that it will someday be restored. 6. Herkimer Battle Jitney. The triple-axe six-wheeled Herkimer Battle Jitney was a military vehicle that appeared for just a few minutes in the 1999 fiction film Mystery Men, when it was acquired by a group of superheroes who were on a mission to save a city from catastrophic destruction. Many viewers thought that this bizarre-looking Jitney seemed realistic, and that's because the movie was filmed using a real custom-built vehicle. Simply put, it was a combination of running gear from a 1979 Ford semi-truck with the body removed and a modified Airstream camper in place of the body. Due to its uniqueness to the Mystery Men film, the Herkimer Battle Jitney couldn't be used in other movies, so it was parked in a California storage yard and left to rot. Fans of the movie urged the vehicle's owner to restore it, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. Mark Zorin, who owns Razorfly Studios in North Carolina, specializes in recreating movie and television props. He checked his email while taking a shower one day and saw that the Jitney was up for sale. Zorin was third in line to buy it, so he explained to the seller that he planned to use his expertise to restore the vehicle to its former glory in hopes that he would gain priority in the sale. It worked, and after agreeing to buy the Jitney sight unseen, it was delivered to Zorin a few days later. He later described it as being made with steel that was thin enough to form by hand and said that the roof wasn't designed to bear any weight. Some of the Jitney's accessories were gone and its rear end had been dramatically altered. In other words, Zorin had his work cut out for him, but he remains optimistic about the project, which is ongoing. Late last year, he told the classic car website Hemmings that his team was still working to track down some parts, but that they'll make their own if they don't find what they need. His company specializes in both 3D printing as well as hand building and sculpting, so one way or another, they'll make it happen. They hope to finish the restoration for the movie's 25th anniversary in 2024. Have you ever seen Mystery Men? Tell us in the comments and hit subscribe while you're at it. 5. Hydrofoil boats. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union developed a class of unique-looking streamlined hydrofoil passenger boats known as Voskhod. Also known as Design 352 or Eurofoil, these watercraft were originally designed for use in lakes and rivers. Hydrofoil technology lifted the boat's hull out of the water, which decreased drag and enabled it to travel at speeds of up to 93 miles per hour, 150 kilometers per hour. Some vessels, nicknamed raketas or rockets, were equipped with airplane turbine engines on each side. Around 150 Voskhod-class hydrofoil boats had been built by the early 1990s, but production stopped around the time the Soviet Union collapsed, as the government struggled to come up with the money needed to continue funding its ambitious projects. Some existing vessels were sold to other countries, including Vietnam, where some 1970s-era boats were still in operation as recently as 2016. Others ended up in Canada, Greece, Yugoslavia, the Netherlands, Thailand, Bulgaria, Turkey, and China. Those that weren't sent elsewhere were decommissioned and left to decay in ship graveyards. One such cemetery, located in a forest outside the city of Perm near Russia's Ural Mountains, contains several hydrofoil boats. Another hydrofoil boat ended up being used as a bar next to a Ukrainian apartment complex. 4. Handley Page Victor. The Handley Page Victor is a strategic bomber jet that was developed for the British Royal Air Force, RAF, during the early stages of the Cold War. It entered service in 1958 and was initially praised for its ability to fly higher, further, and faster than previous models, and to carry a heavier payload. Just a decade later, military officials determined that it failed to fulfill the military's readiness to respond to the Soviet Union's advancing nuclear missile technology. The Victor simply wasn't designed to cope with low-level tactics, and had a tendency to form stress fractures in that environment, which hindered its usefulness. But not all was lost. It was repurposed as an aerial tanker and was highly successful at the job. The last Victor was officially retired in 1993. For years, one of the jets sat neglected outside the RAF Marham base in Norfolk, England. In 2020, base officials reached out to the public, offering it to anyone who was willing to come and get it. They hoped that someone with the capability and desire to restore the plane would be interested, but failed to attract a new owner. At a lack of other options, the military ultimately decided to remove the Victor from the base's entrance and dispose of it. A spokesperson described the move as a difficult decision. The only remaining Victor is currently on display at the Imperial War Museum in Duxford, England, following a 5-year restoration. 3. Mi-6 chopper. During an oil prospecting expedition in 1981, an Mi-6 helicopter pilot touched down to refuel at a military base in Russia's Yarmalo-Nenets region, roughly 1,500 miles, 2,414 kilometers outside Moscow. Just 5 minutes after taking off, both of the aircraft's engines failed, giving the pilot no other choice but to crash land in a swamp. The chopper was heavily damaged, but thankfully nobody was hurt. An investigation found that workers at the base had accidentally filled the fuel tanks with a mixture of gas and water, causing the engines to fail. More than 40 years later, the wreck still sits in the swamp where it made its emergency landing. The Mi-6 was a heavy transport helicopter that was designed for both military and civilian use. It was first built in 1959 and was the largest helicopter in production until the Mi-26 superseded it in 1980. The colossal chopper is normally flown by a flight crew consisting of at least 5 members and can seat up to 65 armed soldiers. It can also carry vehicles and other large, bulky loads of equipment. More than 900 Mi-6s were built before the model was retired in 2002. 2. Lamborghini Huracan. One morning in early 2019, people were shocked to see that a purple Lamborghini Huracan had been abandoned in a ditch north of London. A bypasser named Andrew Lawrence was on his way to work when he spotted the deserted $250,000 vehicle and went to see if anyone was inside and if they were okay. But the driver was nowhere in sight. Lawrence told news agency SWNS that the car was facing the wrong way and on the wrong side of the road, and theorized that it had run off the highway during the night. He also pointed out that he found the wrecked vehicle near a soccer club where many players were known to drive nice cars. A Metropolitan Police spokesperson revealed that the agency had received calls about the car at around 1:30 in the morning, but that there was nobody in or around the car when they went to the scene to investigate. At the time of the discovery, detectives were still working to identify the Lambo's owner. The mystery was solved when a Bitcoin millionaire named Michael Hudson came forward to claim the car. He said that he'd slid on a puddle and managed to avoid a nearby pole. Realizing that the damage was minimal, he walked away from the car with plans to retrieve it later on instead of calling a tow truck. While Hudson's excuse for ditching the vehicle was met with some suspicion, nothing else came of the situation. 1. MAZ 7904. Throughout the Cold War, the Soviet Union developed numerous heavy-duty trucks and tractors known as MAZ vehicles. Their purpose was to carry any and all military materials, including the USSR's nuclear missiles, which only seemed to be growing in size. Equipped with 6 axles and 12 massive wheels measuring 9 feet, 2.7 meters in diameter, the MAZ 7904 was capable of carrying loads weighing up to 220 tons, 200 metric tons. But the vehicle's chassis alone weighed 140 tons, 127 metric tons, which meant that each wheel had to support around 30 tons, 27 metric tons of weight. At least 100 experts were commissioned to ensure that the complicated design would work. Tests were performed only at night, and at times when the Soviets were pretty sure that there weren't any Western satellites looming over their territory. Finally, in 1983, the more than 100-foot-long, 30.5 meters, 22-foot wide, 6.7-meter machine was rolled out. But even with the blessing of a large team of specialists, the vehicle proved to be problematic and impractical. Due to its weight, it had a maximum speed of just 16 miles per hour, 26 kilometers per hour. The MAZ 7904 handled poorly and was never entrusted with transporting nuclear weapons. Instead, it was stored at a hangar in Kazakhstan and more or less forgotten about. Over the years, the vehicle's tires deflated, several of its parts were removed or stolen, and it fell into an unsalvageable state of decay. In 2010, what was left of the MAZ 7904 was scrapped. Today, it lives on only in photos. Thanks for watching. Which one of these abandoned vehicles would you like to check out the most? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye.